how would demon slayers progress if Giyu becomes a demon? How would Giyu even become a demon? Would he become evil or good? After a lot of research, here's our answer to what if Giyu turned into a demon. There will be major spoilers ahead, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then I suggest you move on. Well, as we all know, Giyu is the first ever Hashira that was introduced to the story. Apart from Nezuko, the water Hashira was also responsible for Tanjiro becoming a demon slayer. Do you think Giyu would suffer the same fate as Kaigaku in Kokushibo if he becomes a demon? Well, without a doubt, Giyu is already a strong individual in the Demon Slayer verse. He was able to provide a huge amount of help for his comrades against the battle with Muzan in the final arc. But how strong would Giyu be if he becomes a demon? As we all know, later in the series it was revealed that Giyu suffered from an inferiority complex, which he developed since his participation in the final selection. Although Giyu became a Hashira, he somehow dubbed himself as a fake Hashira. This acts as a way to remind Giyu of his shortcomings and how things could have been different if his friend, who turns out to be Sabito, survived. I don't think Giyu would be someone Muzan or any demon would be able to persuade or force into becoming a demon. We see just how loyal the Hashiras are, much like how Akaza offered Rengoku to be a demon, but he instantly refused. This was shown in the latest movie Demon Slayer Mugen Train. The only way I see for Giyu to be a demon would be by accident, like if he ever encountered an upper moon or if he encountered Muzan himself. By then, Giyu would certainly become a demon the same way Nezuko was turned into one in the first place. At this point, Giyu would struggle in maintaining his moral compass and his sense of justice, much like Nezuko. So what exactly are these effects? Well, he would have a hard time controlling his desire for human flesh, but once he does, he would become a force to be reckoned with. Now, we all know that demons have their blood demon art, and that only those who have received Muzan's blood and consumed a lot of humans are able to use it. Now, assuming Giyu possesses a blood demon art, since he was exposed to Muzan's blood, he can merge this with his breathing style like Kaigaku and Kokushibo did, ultimately making him a menace in the Demon Slayer verse. Imagine a demon battling with the humans against other demons. That would increase their fighting chances, especially if the said demon was a Hashira. I mean, think about it. Without Nezuko helping, Tanjiro would have died earlier in the series. Would Giyu succumb to a demon's bloodthirsty nature and become evil? Now, I doubt Giyu would become a demon that is evil. Given Gyu's character, he's not envious of anybody and he has never shown an animosity against anyone. His inferiority complex doesn't stem from jealousy, unlike Kokushibo, who was envious of his brother and was greedy for more power. Gyu's issue was caused by his traumatic past, in which he lost his sister and best friend, Sabito, without being able to do anything, driving him to believe that he is not competent to be the Water Hashira. At one point in the manga, Giyu even told Tanjiro that he is not the Water Hashira, because he never saw himself fit for such a title. Tanjiro, however, talks him out of this and pushes him to cherish his life and live on for those who sacrifice themselves for him. If you're curious about how Giyu would overcome Kibuchuzi's curse, that allows Muzan to control other demons, it would all go down towards how motivated Giyu is in overcoming his desires, or if Muzan is weakened enough for him to break the curse. Like how Tamiya was able to escape Muzan when he was severely weakened against his fight with Yoriichi, or how Nezuko's protective instinct, along with the help of Urokodaki's special hypnotism on Nezuko. Given Gyu's strength of character and how much he wants to protect the people he values, ultimately, I think Giyu would be one of the good demons in the verse. But how would the Hashiras take Gyu's transformation? Well, for starters, I think they'd react the same way they did when they first saw Nezuko. The transformation of an esteemed member like Giyu into a demon would create tension within the Demon Slayer Corps. Some members might advocate for his immediate elimination, but in the end, just like how Giyu convinced the Hashiras about Nezuko during the Hashira meeting on the first episode of Demon Slayer, he would also be able to persuade them that he will not be a threat to any human. But when would he exactly be a demon? Well, if Giyu had become a demon earlier in the series, before episode 1, Tanjiro and Nezuko might have encountered him while he was still trying to fight his way out of his transformation. This could have given them insight into the struggles and potential redemption of demons, adding a different dynamic to their journey. Not only would Tanjiro be able to meet his master, Urokodaki, through Giyu, but maybe even Nezuko could have undergone training under Gyu's supervision. Seeing how he is in the same position as Nezuko, he would teach Nezuko about blood demon art, and maybe Giyu could teach her total concentration breathing technique as well, further increasing Nezuko's strength. How awesome would that be? I mean, Nezuko's already strong, but how much more if she learned total concentration breathing technique? Well, I mean, it was stated that this technique was used to boost a human's physical capabilities in order to fight against demons. Now that we've covered how Giyu would become a demon and how it would affect the Hashiras and the Kamado siblings, let's move on to the plot of the story itself. So how would Giyu becoming a demon change the story of Demon Slayer? First off, the Mount Natagumo arc. What changes would happen here? Well, I believe that not much would change in the story since Giyu would still be on this Demon Slayer side. I think everything would proceed accordingly, but this time, the strength they possess would be be 10 times more than the original, because Giyu is currently a demon and Nezuko has learned how to use her blood demon art much earlier because of Giyu. As an added bonus, Nezuko can use total concentration breathing techniques that she learned from him. Tanjiro wouldn't have to worry about Nezuko since she would be way stronger in this scenario. Thus, they would be able to decapitate Rui's head with ease. Giyu wouldn't even need to intervene with the Kamado siblings fight against Rui. How about the Entertainment District arc, Mugen Train arc, and the Swordsmith Village arc? Well, things would then go the way everything was planned when they entered the Entertainment District towards the Swordsmith Village, since Giyu would not be making any appearance in this part of the story. Although, their fights would be much easier since Nezuko is trained well. In the Mugen Train arc, Rengoku would still die because even if Nezuko is stronger, she's busy saving the passengers with Zenitsu, so she couldn't have helped in Rengoku's fight against Akaza. During the Hashira training arc, this is where his inferiority complex, as mentioned earlier, was brought to light. So what happens? Well, we see the burden he carries and the doubts he placed on himself. In this arc as well, we see very little of Giyu and how he distances himself with the other Hashiras during their meeting. If we follow the story as it is, and this time we add the twist in which Giyu was a demon, I think his already sour relationship with the other Hashiras will be met with even more hostility, especially with the Wind Hashira, Sanemi Shinazugawa. After the meeting with the Hashiras, we don't see much of Giyu for a while, until the moment where he trains with Sanemi. Originally, we see the fight between Sanemi and Giyu ending in a stalemate, but what if Sanemi fought a demonized Giyu? Remember, at this point, Giyu had complete control over his newfound demon strength, therefore, the fight would probably lean towards Giyu's victory. Shortly after that, we proceed to the Infinity Castle arc, where we see Tanjiro and Giyu's face-offs against Akaza, the Upper Moon 3. So what's the difference in this timeline? Well, in this encounter, Tanjiro and Giyu wouldn't have a hard time dealing with Akaza like in the original plot. Since Giyu has become a demon at this point, he would already be stronger than Akaza. In the original plot, Giyu with the help of Tanjiro was able to deal some damage against Akaza while minimizing the blows he received from the demon's attack. But in this moment, Akaza not only faces off against a regular Hashira, but a Hashira with demon powers, and Giyu's probably at the Upper Moon level too. This time around, Tanjiro wouldn't need to help, since Giyu would be able to face Akaza alone and overpower him with his water breathing technique along with his blood demon art. The downside to this is that Giyu doesn't unlock his Demon Slayer mark, and Tanjiro won't master the Transparent World ability. But good news is they are not badly injured, which means they will be able to perform better against their final opponent, Muzan. Sadly, after the fight with Akaza, the plot continues to stay the same. In chapter 176, Muichiro and Genya still die at the hands of Kokushibo, but in the final act where they face off against Muzan along with the other Hashiras, which happened in chapter, Giyu would become the vanguard as he can tank Muzan's attack, and losing a limb or two wouldn't be much of a problem because of his regenerative abilities. Pouring all their strength in order to finally end Muzan's life and trading blows with the Demon King, Giyu finally unlocks his Demon Slayer mark, making him even stronger than before. With the Demon Slayer mark, a blood demon art, and insane regeneration, how can Giyu's buff affect the fight? Well, the incident in which Tanjiro was struck by Muzan could have been avoided, as Giyu would be able to take that hit in order to protect Tanjiro. And we all know how durable demons are, and how those who have received Muzan's blood regenerate in an incredible speed. I mean, take Akaza for example. The moment his arm was severed by Rengoku, he quickly grew it back with ease, and even wounds fatal for a human seemed irrelevant. That is why I believe Giyu, being a demon that was exposed to Muzan's blood, would be able to perform the same feats as Akaza. But that would be boring. So instead, let's follow the original plot and say Muzan still landed that hit against Tanjiro. And what does this mean? Well, this would mean that the moment where the Hashiras were blown away by Muzan and Tanjiro confronting the Demon King would still happen. But this time, Giyu is quick to recover and joins Tanjiro in the fight. During this, the strain felt by Tanjiro as he performs all of the 12 sun breathing techniques would be greatly reduced since Giyu would be backing him up. And this would be the moment in which Tanjiro unlocks a Transparent World ability. Muzan is slowly being affected by the hybrid drug that was created by Tamiyo and Shinobu. Tanjiro and Giyu gain the upper hand and are able to push Muzan back. Shortly after, Kanao, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and the others are back on their feet, and put even more pressure on the already weakened Muzan. As the sun rises, Muzan makes one final attempt to pass his will to Tanjiro in order to create a perfect Demon King that can conquer the sun. Why? Because, I mean, come on, Nezuko did it, and Tanjiro was her brother. It would be normal to assume that by sharing the same blood, Tanjiro can do the same. But before this happens, Giyu steps in and pins Muzan down himself, throwing Tanjiro to the side and sacrificing his life as he absorbs all of Muzan's blood. If you're wondering why would Giyu do this, well, do you remember how Giyu always thought he was the one getting protected and how everyone that's important to him dies? Well, you might say this is his redemption moment. The scene where he realizes that this is his purpose. This time, he sacrifices himself to properly kill Muzan, and his promise to protect those that are important to him can now be fulfilled in the most dramatic way possible. With that being said, the disaster that was to come and the injuries everyone suffered by the Demon Slayer Corps during Tanjiro's rampage in the original plot has been avoided. At last, the Demon Slayer Corps has finally won the battle, and Giyu's sacrifice shall be etched in stone. Now that we've answered, what if Giyu becomes a demon? How about what if a Hashira betrayed the Demon Slayer Corps? Click on this video to find out.